If you've been through some devastating family estrangement, or you found yourself stuck in toxic relationships, or maybe you're finally out of that and rebuilding after a divorce, but you still keep thinking, why does this stuff keep happening to me? I want you to hear this clearly. It's not because you're broken, and what's causing it might actually surprise you. By the end of this video, we're going to uncover the real reasons that those types of things keep repeating and how you can finally break free of them. I've been stuck in these kind of loops myself. In fact, it took me a long time to realize what was even going on. So I want to make that process a little bit easier for you than it was for me. Because for years, I blamed myself. I thought if I just tried harder, if I just did better, if I just said the right thing or did the right thing, my family would finally understand. But I was wrong. All I did was end up spinning in frustrating, unhealthy, and what I now know were toxic loops for years, avoiding feelings that weren't nice or pleasant, and trying to fix what couldn't be fixed, at least not by me alone. The truth is, those kind of loops are not driven by lack of effort, and they have absolutely nothing to do with whether you're good enough or strong enough or righteous enough or whatever it is that we might tend to believe. The invisible engine behind those kind of repeating problems, they're all actually unprocessed pain, shame, and trauma. And yet we're masters of glossing over all of it and sweeping it under the rug, shoving it down with busy work or new relationships. It's what we've been taught to do. Many of us learn to function rather than thrive, and we learned how to give and serve and be the strong one rather than acknowledge our own needs. And we learned how to keep going instead of how to be safe. What's really going on is there are patterns playing out that have been passed down to you. They've been passed down from society, from your parents, from the way your grandmother handled conflict, or the way your father sought validation. We often tell ourselves, oh my gosh, that happened years ago. I'm over it already. But your body and your subconscious still remember. And it takes much more than willpower to break out of the cycle that's been running for decades. You have to heal it. It has to crack open. We have to untangle the mess, clean the wounds, and then give them what they need in order to heal. When I start talking about this stuff like trauma and healing, I often have people tell me, well, that doesn't even apply to me. I didn't have any big wounds or anything. I had a pretty good childhood. What they often hear in those words of trauma and healing is like a major event like a car crash or war or horrific abuse like you hear about on the news. But the most insidious trauma, the kind that keeps you stuck and spinning in loops, often hides in plain sight in families. And even though the things that often cause this to happen technically do often qualify as emotional abuse, for most of us, it's just normal. And it's been that way for decades. But I want you to think about this. Was your family's love ever conditional? Did you have to achieve or perform in order to earn praise? Were your feelings frequently dismissed with phrases like, stop crying, you'll be fine, or you're too sensitive, or perhaps even worse, if you don't stop crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about. Statements like this often come from good, well-meaning people who were doing what they knew how to do, but had, in fact, been emotionally neglected themselves, probably in their early years. And they don't have great emotional coping skills themselves. So that kind of trauma may not have been yelling or hitting, but it still trained you to ignore your own intuition, to prioritize everyone else's feelings over your own, and to believe that you were the problem. And guess what you do when you leave that kind of a family system and branch out on your own? You subconsciously seek out partners, friends, and circumstances that repeat those exact dynamics. Maybe somewhere secretly hoping that this time you'll finally solve the original yet unsolvable problem, and then the cycle just continues. Here's what I want you to know today. When you start to recognize these patterns, you gain the power to break them and to heal them. I know this because I've had to face this in my own loops. I've had to face some hard truths about myself. I had to see some hard things about people that I love that I didn't want to see. I've even had to learn how to let some of them go in order to protect my own peace, my own emotional safety, and my own well-being, because they were neither willing or able to work on things on their side. I know that social media is abuzz with rhetoric that says this kind of stuff is just a trend, or therapy is to blame, or influencers are to blame, or that this stuff is just normal and it happens to everyone. But I want you to know it's not, and it doesn't. And I promise you, if we step back long enough to look inside and to look across the board, not with judgment or criticism, but with curiosity, we'll probably see that every relationship has mirrored the patterns that we grew up with. They're either a continuation of what we grew up with, or they're in direct defiance to it, but they're also what our parents grew up with, maybe even what our grandparents grew up with, in times and seasons that look vastly different than our world does today. Realizing these things was the moment I stopped being the victim of the cycle and I became an observer. And ultimately, I became the cycle breaker who said, this isn't okay and this ends with me. If you've been in that place too, you are not just cursed with bad luck. You're a survivor who is brilliantly and probably painfully trying to resolve old wounds in new scenarios. The way to break the pattern isn't to look for a better person or a new job or go buy a great big expensive car. It's to go inward and to give that hurt and shamed part of yourself that needed recognition and safety but never got it, the ability to feel those things. My goodness, I wish this stuff doesn't exist. I wish I didn't have to know about it. But it does, and I do. If you're ready to take the first steps towards some genuine healing and to deal with all those lemons that life has handed you without making another drop of tired old lemonade, I've got a free guide available called 10 Things to Do When Life Hands You Lemons. It gives you concrete things you can do right away to start shifting your focus away from those external fixes and excuses to internal healing. If you'd like a copy of that, leave the word lemons down below in the comment and I'll tell you where you can get it. This journey of getting unstuck and starting fresh isn't about starting over. It's about starting wisely. It's about leveraging wisdom that you've gained from all of your experiences, from all those toxic relationships, and to build something unshakable. And I promise you have everything you need to break those loops. If you'd like to dive deeper into how to actually move forward, click that video right up here. I promise you don't need a perfect life to move forward. You just need a plan. That's what I'm sharing next, and I'll see you over there.